Welcome back, everyone. I want to bring in Trump campaign senior advisor Jason Miller. And Jason, good afternoon to you and welcome to the program. Got a few things cooked up for you. See what you think inside the Trump campaign. Did you see our poll that came out on Sunday morning? Our national poll, Joe Biden against Donald Trump. Biden-Harris at 51, Trump-Pence at 46. Difference of 5 points. Margin of error is 2.5. So, in theory, this could be a dead-even race. And the reason we make that point, Jason, is because if you go back to the general election results of 2016 and look at Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, she won by 2.1 percentage points in the popular vote. Do you think this race is that close in 2020, Jason?
I absolutely do. And there's another poll that came out today that actually showed President Trump leading by 1 point. That's the White House Watch national poll that they had out there. And here's, Bill, the reason why folks need to realize the battleground states are so different from nationally. The left of center group, The Third Way, had an analysis after the 2016 race where they said that Democrats tend to have about a 17% wasted vote from running up the score in blue states. Republicans have about a 13% wasted vote running up the score in red states. So when you look at these national polls, you got to realize that President Trump is always doing about 4 points better when we talk about the battleground specifically. I think this race is absolutely
nationally. It's essentially a tie, is what you're conceding at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. And we saw the polling out today showing President Trump leading by 1. So I think this race is that tight all the way across the board. And we're pretty excited about the positioning right now.
Okay, you mentioned the battleground states. Now, we do this what-if scenario to try and figure out which states are going to go which way. Here is what I think is just unmistakable in today's observation. The Big Ten football is coming back fourth week of October. Just look at what you have here in the what-if scenario. All these states in gray, they're all toss-ups. And they all play Big Ten football. It's Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. Do you think and do you talk about within the campaign itself the significance of that decision and how these folks may vote on November 3rd?
Absolutely. It's a huge decision, and I think President Trump deserves a lot of credit for helping to get Big Ten back out on the football field. I mean, this is what folks need to realize. This is a cultural event. This is a way of life. And, hey, it's not just folks in the Big Ten, places where they are playing like the SEC, other places even out in the Pac-12, but absolutely in Big Ten where we need these states in Minnesota and Wisconsin and Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Iowa. These are all key places, and for the president to be pushing that hard to get Big Ten football, I think he gets a lot of the credit, and I think voters will reward him.
Are you saying he's the only reason why they're going to play again?
I think he's a big part of it. He's a big part of the catalyst, and I think college football fans are definitely big Trump supporters, and I think this is really going to give us a nice boost.
We shall see. Wall Street Journal, here we go. Jason Riley writes this today. Here's the headline. Does Trump have a re-election strategy? He won't win without broadening his base of support, but that doesn't seem to interest him. I imagine you saw this piece. The case he's making is that he's trying to win in 2020 the same way he did in 2016.
Actually, I think this race is a lot different for a couple reasons. One, you look at the fact that President Trump delivered us the greatest economy ever, and he's already in the process of doing it again. And let's talk about who this has helped the most. As we talk about African Americans, Latinos, and Hispanics, also with women, even with Asian Americans. In fact, the most recent Fox News poll, the one that you just showed a moment ago, had President Trump getting approximately 40% of the Latino vote. Now, this is up from 28% that President Trump got in 2016. You saw earlier this week, the president was in Nevada and in Arizona doing Latinos for Trump events. We have a lot of big things coming with continued outreach with the African-American community. The Fox poll, I think those numbers were a bit off on where President Trump is with African-American voters. We're seeing anywhere from 15 to 20%, even in some cases a little bit higher than that. This is a much broader, much more diverse coalition, not just that we saw in the Republican convention a couple of weeks ago, but as is polling right now, President Trump's going to win with a much broader base.
Okay.
So I respectfully disagree with Mr. Riley.
Just one more question here on the early voting. The results that are trickling in from some of these states indicate that Democrats are returning or requesting ballots at a much higher rate than Republicans. Inside the campaign, how do you counter that?
So we've done some polling on this, and what we found is that Democrats are largely going to show up and vote for Joe Biden. If they're going to show up, there's a big enthusiasm gap with a lot of the soft Democratic voters. Republicans are going to show up and vote for President Trump at a much higher enthusiasm level. We know that they're going to be there. Now, whether they do that in early voting or in absentee voting or on election day itself, the base voters are going to be showing up and voting for their respective side. Where we see, again, a lot of the growth opportunity with Hispanic voters, with African Americans, as we talk about independence, where President Trump has a great message on the economy, that people they might vote at different times, but it's not changing the fact of who they're going to vote for. So we like the position that we're in right now. And if I were President Trump, I'd be pretty jazzed up by the momentum, the increase in all the polls.
Yep. You're relying on a heavy in-person vote on November 3rd. We'll see whether or not that's the case. Jason Miller, I'm out of time, but I appreciate yours today.